How about them Braves? It's Dukes and Bell on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We start off every day and every hour by saying, hey, man. Hey, Mike, I got to tell you, I'm still fired up from last night. An improbable situation played out in a game that we desperately needed. And the cool thing about today is, in about 15 minutes, maybe less than that, we're going to get a chance to talk to our man, Hugh Douglas. Hugh now is with WIP, our sister station in Philly. He was at the game last night. They were in town, his show, the midday show for WIP. Hugh's going to be in studio hanging out with us next segment. So first of all, Atlanta, let's give him love. We know we love Hugh. Secondly, we will talk about this from his point of view and from what Philadelphia is thinking now, because I think they're on their heels right now. I really do. I think they're thinking about this differently than after winning game one. But, Mike, let's talk about the play. Let's talk about the sequence. Let's talk about what went down at Truist Park last night.
Yeah, just unbelievable. First, going off to Austin Riley, and I got to be honest, Braves fans, Austin Riley, I began to think, is this guy going to have one of those, Mike Schmidt 1 for 15 kind of playoffs? You're like, oh, you need Austin Riley to be one of the guys stirring the drink. And then just when you think he's not really feeling it, pow, he goes off, and Darno too. So just setting up the big moment. And then I like the strategy, Carl. I had no problem with Minter because Iglesias has given up 4 career taters to Bryce Harper. So Snicker playing the averages, go lefty-lefty. Unfortunately, Minter couldn't keep it over the plate. So then you get to the moment, and obviously everybody's heart is like, oh, because we've seen balls that look like, let's be honest, deep flies which just keep going at Truist Park. And then when you see Money Harris catch up with that thing, just amazing. And then you're thinking, okay, well, that's good. They're going to get Harper get back to first. And then you realize what's happening is happening, even with Ozzie missing the cutoff. Just unbelievable. Like everybody else, you can't believe, to paraphrase, Jack Buck, what you just saw.
It was, I think, one of the biggest plays, obviously, in Braves history. Now, whether we win the World Series or not, and we all know that's the goal, but whether we do or not, you have to admire what happens right now. Admire and take in what just took place. And so from that standpoint, it wasn't on a World Series stage, but it was in the NLDS that could get you potentially to the NLCS and obviously a World Series. So I think, Mike, 2 things from last night for me. One, hitting's contagious, right? We didn't hit till late. In this matchup with the Phillies, their pitching is dominated for the most part. But last night looked like something we had seen time and time again this season. And that is Darno and Riley coming up in clutch moments and clutch spots. And then the Michael Money Harris catch. I want you to hear what he said about Austin Riley turning the double play. Here's Money Harris.
We just seen the slow-mo here. I didn't know that he went to past second. So I threw it in. Then there was a moment where I was like, oh, because he could have made it back. Then Albie's whiffed on it. Then I guess Riley was right there in the right spot to make the throw, made an incredible throw, and got him out.
Yeah, I don't know, again, if Riley intended to be where he was, but, in Little League, Mike, you learn this, right? You got to back up. You back up the first baseman. You back up the third baseman. There's always this daisy chain of, hey, just in case the throw gets past you. And I don't think we think a lot about that in the major leagues because we rarely see it where it plays out like it did last night.
No, it's one of those moments where you're like, wow. And by the way, I don't know what we'll talk to Hugh if they're killing Bryce Harper. I don't blame Bryce Harper. He thought the thing was going to get off the wall and he's going to score from first as this thing's going to ricochet all over the place, and eventually Acuna would get it in. So I understand the aggressiveness by Harper, but yeah, it's just one of those plays. It's akin with Riley coming in flying hot like that, like when Jeter made that amazing kind of catch and toss against the A's in that divisional playoff game, the end of the Moneyball season, which was kind of like, wow, he had the presence of mind to be there to make that play.
404-726-0929.
It was.
Oh, snit. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Now we have some momentum, if you believe in those things. Now, in baseball, it's a little different because, again, with starting pitching, if I knew, Mike, that we were throwing, Strider in Game 3, I'd feel a lot better.
Right.
But that's not the situation. But I do think the hitting is contagious, and now all of a sudden guys can relax and just go do what we've done all season long. 5-4 last night, the final in Game 2. Series is tied at 1 apiece. Follow Mike. He's Mike Bell, ATL. I'm at Put 'em Up. See Dukes. The radio show is Dukes and Bell 929. Follow this radio station at 929 The Game. Stay up on everything that's going on. And, of course, you can watch us live on YouTube at 929 The Game and twitch.tv/ATL 929 The Game. Many ways to watch us here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. All right, I want you to hear Money Harris because I thought this was interesting. Mike, he said he blacked out after Riley hit the home run. people who were at the game last night, and we're going to take your phone calls a little bit later on in the show, but friends of mine, people that were at the game are saying that was as loud as it's ever been. Now, we always say these moments, right? Oh, I was there. Mike, I wasn't. I was watching on TV, but I don't know how loud it was, but people said as loud as it's ever been when he hit the home run. This is what Money Harris said after Riley hit the home run.
I lost my voice kind of after Austin's home run. And then, I don't know, after that happened, everything I just blacked out. And I guess we end up winning the game somehow. And I don't know. I really don't know. Just being from here is kind of cool to do that in the playoffs for a team I grew up rooting for.
He grew up about 10 miles away from Truist Park. As we know, he's a hometown kid. So he's contributing in a way that very few have ever had a chance to do, and making a catch like that and then making the
still
throw.
Pretty wet.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. So, Mike, where do we go from here? Because here's the deal. Everybody's saying, all right, now we're going to start hitting. We hadn't been hitting. Everything's going to kind of fall into place. I'm not going to discredit Philly yet. That home crowd for Philadelphia is going to be insane. They're already PO'd, right? They always are. Right. And then knowing that they're going to boo everybody on the squad, you know this is going to be intense over the next few days.
Well, again, momentum is just as good as or just as tough as the next day's, starting pitcher. In this case, it's undecided. We think it's going to be Bryce Elder. I know it's going to be Aaron Nola for the Phillies, but how do we pivot? Because you got the Phillies feel like, man, they blew it right there. And Len, if you take it all the way back, Trey Turner's got to be kicking himself for blowing the cutoff throw where the ball skips off his glove, and Ronald Acuna scores that first run, which becomes the game winner. Right, if you add it all up. So there's a pivotal moment where, the Phillies this year have sort of cleaned up some of those mistakes. But let's be honest, Carl, over their history, the Phillies have been kind of known as butchers in the field, right?
Yeah.
But the normally slick fielding Trey Turner can't handle the throw from the outfield. Acuna takes advantage. We get a run for nothing on that one. But, yeah, I just feel Philly can still rake. We know that's Snicker's own words. How are we going to approach this? Are we going to throw somebody like, I don't know, Minter early or Hand or Pierce John? I don't know. I mean, we're going to go for a lefty matchup and then bring in a Bryce Elder in the second inning. I hate that stuff, but that's the way a lot of managers do things like this these days.
Yeah, you go to your strengths. If you felt like Minter is somebody that you might want to bring in early, maybe you do a bullpen start, Mike. Listen, fans don't
maybe
like
not Minter,
it.
but yeah, you got options, right?
Yeah.
You got options.
Fans don't like it, but you say, all right, the thinking behind it is, and they have not announced anything yet, but I'm going to go to my bullpen, and I'm going to start a guy who's going to give me 1 or 2 solid innings. You get me through 2. And then you start to just devour the game, just like the Phillies did with their 6 relievers in Game 1. And you say, all right, he gives me 2, and you get to a point in the game where all of a sudden it's a 3-inning game. And now you can do what you normally might do. So we'll see if Snick comes up or what he does. Oh, this series is tied up at 1 apiece. It's Dukes and Bell, Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. But it is a pleasure and an honor to have this man back in studio with us. This is home, all right? Big Hugh Douglas joining us. He does middays on WIP up in Philly. He was in town for the last couple of days for Game 1 and 2. Big Hugh, what's going on?
Hey, man. What's going on, man? How you guys doing, man? Miss you guys.
Oh, man. Sorry I couldn't be in studio, Hugh. Glad to have you on the show again, man.
I heard you. You got a little something going on. But, it's great to be on the show, man. Great to talk to you guys. Me and Mike talk every now and then on the X. They don't call it Twitter anymore. On the X. We talk on the X a little bit.
Yeah, you know what Mike will say to me? He's like, man, he be saying some craziness, man. Is he cool? And I'm like, yeah, he's
talking about the Britney Spears thing.
Yeah, he's talking about everything.
No, but dude, like, let's be honest. Britney Spears looked like she would be fun. Like to go to Vegas and hang out with Britney.
Oh, she gonna be fun.
Yes. She'll be a fun time.
Oh, she gonna be fun. Yes. You might not make it out alive.
It might be a little different. You might be a little different the next day, but it'll be a fun time.
Hey, who doesn't like to drink some Dewar's, take some Ambien, and break out the Ginsu knives and do a routine?
Bring out the knives and do a little routine. But you know what the funny part about Britney Spears is? When she was younger, and you remember she had the video, the crazy video or whatever? The one video where she had the snakes. So Slave, the slave video with the snakes in it. It was cool back then.
Yes.
As you get older, it ain't as cool as it once was. That's the biggest difference. She's still the same person. She's just a lot more mature. And people don't, you know what I mean? They don't like that.
Yeah, she's doing that.
Different.
Well, I mean, every time I see those videos, I think 2 words, Carl and Hugh, wellness check.
That's a good point.
I just think, like, boy, she's a party. Like, she is a party.
Yeah, she's fun.
With them little drawers on, running around with a little tattoo. Yeah.
Her and Miley Cyrus, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yep.
Hugh Douglas in studio. All right, man. Is Philly? You did your show already.
Yes.
Okay, his show is done up there. Were they killing Bryce Harper today?
Man, they were killing everybody. That like people were talking about how like it was bonehead of Harper, and it was one of those things that what are you thinking and things of that nature. And this is what I said. I look at it like this. Harper has been an aggressive baseball player since day one. Last week, we were applauding the fact that he ran through a stop sign to go home to score. And I said, you can't be mad at Bryce Harper for doing Bryce Harper things. Bryce Harper was in a no-win situation. You're talking about the ball was popped up. Michael Harris, that was a hell of a play.
Unbelievable.
That was a hell of a play. I'm thinking Bryce didn't think he was going to catch it. And Bryce was trying to score. He got caught. And it was just a bang play. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first time that's ever happened in a playoff series, ever.
Yes.
So it was a bang play. And when I tell you, listen, there's no disrespect to Braves fans because I was here a long time and I got love for everybody here in the A because they got love for me. It was quiet. It was quiet in the building until that moment. And when that happened, that place erupted. And I knew, I was like, and I kept thinking, I was like, because I was on my way. This is what I was doing, Carl. I was on my way out the door. I went to get, they gave me the little Truist voucher.
Yeah.
I was about to go get me something to eat. They ran out of Chick-fil-A sandwiches, by the way, so I had to get some nuggets.
Okay.
So I was getting ready to head.
Struggle
to the
is
door.
real.
Yeah. So I'm getting ready to head to the door because it's like in the 6th inning, and it was really quiet. The place was quiet. It looked like everybody started to concede the fact that the game was over. And boy, when it started with that Trey Turner era, and then the momentum just grew and grew and grew. And about the time I hit the door, that place was at a fever pitch, so much so that I took a video of it because the lights went off and everybody was doing the chop and everything, and they were excited. And all I heard was people talking about going back to Philly and what the atmosphere is going to be like in Philadelphia. It's going to be different. It's definitely going to be different. That place is going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. Philly fans right now are looking at it like it was a missed opportunity. But I asked Philly fans today this. I said, if I told you before this series started that you were going to be up 2-0 in this series and it comes back to Philadelphia, would you believe me? Most fans said no.
Right.
Especially when you talk about this historic offense that the Braves have. I think it was like over 60% of the games that they were in, they hit over 5 runs. They had over 5 runs. So to be in a situation where you got one here, you got what you wanted. You got a game here. Now you got 2 in Philadelphia. This is probably going to come down to 5. This is not going to be easy.
No, I mean, you could see it going 5. These 5-game things are so wacky in the Braves' history. And the other thing, Hugh, is the idea that the matchup was better for the Braves. The idea that you had Strider going up against Ranger Suarez in what turned into a bullpen game, and then the Braves get shut out for the only time this season. So that's why I think some Philly fans on the other side of the argument could be feeling, man, we really let one get away because everything from the Trey Turner, screw up to what happened later in the game where Darno, by the way, first pitch swinging because he knew Wheeler from his time with the Mets. Yeah. And eventually he got the pitch he was looking for and he deposited. So you could argue you wouldn't expect it to have won this game. But either way, I just think, you could argue the Braves have a bit of a disadvantage because we don't know who we're necessarily going to throw and how we're going to approach where you guys are going with Aaron Nola.
Well, Aaron Nola is in a unique situation because we were talking about today. A lot of people are looking at this as Aaron Nola's contract game, whether or not he's going to be in Philadelphia.
And they'll run him out.
Because he's been a little bit Dow Jonesy. The last time he was out there on the mound, he pitched very, very well. But a lot of people are looking at this as his Waterloo watershed moment, whatever you want to say. This is his moment to figure out whether or not he's going to be in Philadelphia for the extended period of time.
We're talking with Big Hugh Douglas, guys, in studio here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Of course, if you've listened to our radio station over the last 10 years, you know Hugh and the role he played in helping grow this radio station. He's now in Philly doing middays, was in Atlanta for these last 2 games, games 1 and 2.